best uniform, though it was patched in 3 places and the fabric was faded from years of use. Beside him sat Emma Price, humanity's chief engineer, and Tom Bradley, their military coordinator. All 3 watched with tense expressions as Velcrin prepared to deliver the council's decision. James had spent 6 months preparing humanity's petition for council membership. 6 months of documentation, presentations, and diplomatic meetings. 6 months of hope that finally, after 50 years in space, humanity would be recognized as equals among the galactic community. After careful consideration of the human petition, Velcrin announced, his voice echoing through the chamber, "The Galactic Council has reached a decision." He paused, his antennae twitching. "The petition for full membership is denied." James felt his stomach drop. Emma's hand gripped the armrest of her chair. Tom's jaw clenched tight. "The human species," Velcrin continued, "lacks the technological sophistication and resource stability required for council membership. Their methods of survival are considered primitive by our standards." A council member from the back spoke up, not bothering to lower his voice. "They live on salvage. They build their homes from our garbage." Several other council members made sounds of agreement. Some laughed. James stood up slowly. He didn't say anything. He simply walked out of the gallery, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Emma and Tom followed quickly behind him. The walk back to the human sector took over an hour using the station's transit system. James stared out the window as they traveled, watching the sleek, beautiful structures of the alien sectors pass by. Everything was polished metal and clean lines. Everything looked expensive and new. When they finally reached the human sector, the contrast was stark. Sanctuary Station hung in space like a floating city built from a child's mismatched toy blocks. Ship hulls from a dozen different species were welded together in seemingly random patterns. Solar panels from 4 different manufacturers created a patchwork quilt of energy collection. Habitation modules of various sizes and origins connected through sealed corridors and pressurized tubes. To an outsider it looked like chaos. Like something that shouldn't work. But 3 million humans called it home. James, Emma, and Tom entered the command center, a converted cargo bay that now served as the station's nerve center. Dozens of people worked at various stations, monitoring everything from life support to communications to the small fleet of ships that protected their home. "Well?" asked a young officer named Rachel, looking up from her console. "What did they say?" "Denied," James said simply, walking to the large viewport that overlooked the station's central hub. The room went quiet. Everyone had hoped for a different answer. "They called us scavengers," James continued, his voice flat. "Said we live on scrap and desperation." Emma moved to stand beside him at the viewport. Below them, the station bustled with activity. Markets filled with people trading goods. Children playing in the recreation domes. Engineers working on repairs to the outer hull sections. Life thriving against all odds. "They're not wrong," Tom said from behind them. "We do live on their leftovers. Everything we have, we took from what they threw away." "No," James turned to face his crew. "We live on ingenuity. We live on the refusal to give up. They throw things away because they're wasteful. We make them work because we have to." Emma smiled, though there was no humor in it. "You want to know what I think? I think they're afraid of us." "Afraid?" Rachel asked, confused. "Why would they be afraid?" "Think about it," Emma explained. 50 years ago we came to the stars with almost nothing. We found every good world already claimed. Every resource-rich system already occupied. Every strategic location already controlled. So what did we do? We took what no one else wanted. She gestured toward the viewport. We claimed abandoned mining stations that other species left behind because they weren't profitable enough. We moved into orbital scrapyards and turned them into homes. We harvested asteroids in fields too dangerous for others to bother with. We salvaged technology from ancient battlefields that everyone else ignored. And now, Emma continued, her voice gaining strength. Now we have 30 stations, 100 colonies, and a fleet of ships that can travel anywhere in the galaxy. We did it without their help. Without their resources. Without their permission. That scares them. Tom nodded slowly. We proved that their cast-offs are valuable. That their worthless locations can sustain millions. That their primitive salvage operations can build something great. James looked around at his crew. These were people who had been born on salvage stations, who had grown up repairing broken equipment, who had learned from childhood that nothing was truly worthless. These were people who saw potential where others saw trash. They wanted us to fail, James said quietly. They expected us to give up and come begging for their help. Instead we thrived. He turned back to the viewport, watching Sanctuary Station's lights twinkle like stars. Let them keep their council membership. We'll keep doing what we do best. We'll keep surviving. We'll keep building. And one day they'll realize they made a mistake. Emma put a hand on his shoulder. What do we do now? James smiled for the first time since the rejection. We do what we always do. We take their scrap and turn it into something better. 6 months passed since the council's rejection. Life continued on Sanctuary Station and the other human settlements. People worked, traded, raised families and went about their daily business. The rejection stung, but humanity had learned long ago to keep moving forward. Then everything changed. The Varkhan Empire, a militaristic species from the eastern edge of the galaxy, launched a massive invasion. They swept through neutral space like a storm, conquering 3 star systems in just 2 weeks. Smaller species fled before them. Their colonies burned. Their pleas for help echoed across communication channels. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. James watched the broadcast from Sanctuary Station's command center. Emma and Tom stood beside him, along with dozens of other officers and crew members. Ambassador Velkrin appeared on screen, his antennae trembling with urgency. This aggression cannot stand. The Varkhan Empire threatens the stability of our entire region. All member species must contribute military forces to stop this invasion. One by one, species pledged their support. The responses were disappointing. Token forces. Defensive positions only. Small numbers of ships. Everyone wanted someone else to do the actual fighting. Notice something? Emma asked, her arms crossed. They didn't call us, Tom said bitterly. We're not members, James replied, his eyes still on the screen. We're just scavengers living on their garbage, remember? The broadcast ended. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Everyone knew what was happening. The Varkhan Empire was moving closer to human territory with each passing day. If the Council forces failed to stop them, humanity would be next. Pull up our fleet status, James ordered. Tom worked quickly at his console. Numbers and ship names scrolled across the screen. 47 ships are combat-ready right now. Another 100 could be armed and prepared within a week. They're not pretty, but they can fly and fight. That was putting it mildly. Human ships were nightmares from an engineering standpoint. Each one was built from parts salvaged from multiple species. A ship might have engines from one race, weapons from another, life support from a third, and a hull patched together from whatever metal was available. They looked like flying junkyards held together with welding and prayer. But they flew. And more importantly, they kept flying even when they shouldn't. James made his decision. Send a message to all human stations and colonies. Volunteer basis only. We're going to war. Sir, Emma said carefully, they didn't ask for our help. James smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I know. But the Varkhan are pushing into space near our colonies. Our people are at risk. Besides, he paused, they say we live on scrap and hate. Let's show them what that really means. The response was overwhelming. Within 48 hours, 80 human ships gathered near Sanctuary Station. Captains and crews volunteered from across human space. Miners, merchants, station workers and everyone else who could fly a ship came forward. They jumped to the Kelvin system, where Varkhan forces were attacking a mining colony. The colony belonged to a small species called the Morel. They had been calling for help for 3 days. No one had come. Until now. The Varkhan fleet numbered 30 ships. Sleek, powerful warships with standardized designs and heavy weapons. When they detected the human fleet approaching, their commander must have laughed. The human ships looked ridiculous. Mismatched hulls, visible repair patches, different colored metals welded together in crazy patterns. They looked like they would fall apart just from entering combat. Captain Robert Miller commanded the lead ship, a cruiser called Defiance. It was built from parts of 5 different species vessels. The crew had painted it in mismatched colors because they couldn't afford matching paint. All ships, this is Defiance, Robert broadcast to the human fleet. They think we're a joke. Let's educate them. The battle began. Varkhan weapons were powerful and accurate. They tore through human armor like paper. Alarms blared. Hull breaches appeared. Systems failed. But the human ships kept fighting. When a Varkhan shot destroyed 40% of Defiance's armor, Robert didn't retreat. We still have 60%, he told his crew. Keep shooting. When another ship lost its main engines, the captain used maneuvering thrusters and kept fighting. When a third ship's weapons overheated, they rammed a Varkhan vessel instead. The Varkhan had never seen anything like it. They were used to enemies who retreated when damaged, who surrendered when outgunned, who followed logical combat doctrine. Humans didn't retreat. They repaired systems during the battle. They rerouted power through damaged conduits. They sealed hull breaches with whatever materials were available and kept fighting. Engineering teams worked in sections exposed to vacuum, wearing emergency suits while replacing burnt-out components. Weapons officers fired manually when automated systems failed. Medical teams treated wounded while explosions rocked the ships around them. The battle lasted 6 hours. 12 human ships were destroyed. 43 more were heavily damaged. But the Varkon fleet retreated, confused and battered. They had won the technical victory, inflicting more casualties. But they had failed to destroy the human fleet, and they had failed to take the colony. The Morel colonists, watching from their shelters, couldn't believe it. The humans had saved them. News spread quickly across the galaxy. The species that had been rejected by the Council had just fought the Varkon Empire to a standstill. With inferior ships. With inferior numbers. With nothing but determination and spite. Emma sent a report to the Council, knowing they would read it. Her words were simple. You asked how we won with broken ships and limited resources. The answer is simple. We've spent 50 years making broken things work. We don't quit just because something is damaged. We fix it and keep going. It's not strategy. It's survival. And we're very, very good at surviving. The Galactic Council could no longer pretend humanity didn't exist. The Varkon Empire continued pushing deeper into neutral space, and conventional military forces were failing to stop them. Every battle ended the same way. The Council forces would engage, take casualties, and retreat to defensive positions. The Varkon kept advancing. Counselor Mirren, a member of the Tal species known for their wisdom and diplomatic skills, made an unusual request. She wanted to study human military forces firsthand. She needed to understand how they achieve victories that made no logical sense. They win battles they should lose, she told Ambassador Velkrin. They fight with damaged ships against superior forces and somehow survive. There is something we are missing about these humans. Velkrin was reluctant but agreed. The Council needed answers. Mirren was assigned to accompany a human combat unit called the Junkers, commanded by Lieutenant Lisa Hayes. Lisa was not impressed when Mirren arrived at their base on Outpost 7. You're welcome to observe, Counselor, Lisa said bluntly. But stay out of our way. We have work to do, and I don't have time for diplomatic niceties. Mirren was surprised by the lack of ceremony but nodded. She wanted to see real operations, not performances staged for her benefit. What she saw over the next few weeks changed her understanding of warfare completely. The Junkers were unlike any military unit she had ever observed. They were soldiers, yes, but they were also engineers, mechanics, and scavengers. After every battle, while other species would retreat to repair facilities, the Junkers went to work on the battlefield itself. You salvage during wartime? Mirren asked, watching as human crews pulled working components from destroyed ships. Of course, Lisa replied, directing her team to extract a power core from a wrecked Varkon vessel. That core still functions. Those weapon arrays are intact. Why would we leave them floating in space? But this is a war zone. It is dangerous. Lisa smiled. Everything we do is dangerous, Counselor. We're used to it. Mirren began to notice something else. The humans fought differently than other species. They fought with emotion. With anger. Other species tried to remain calm and logical during combat. Humans seemed to use their feelings as fuel. During a strategy meeting, Mirren decided to ask directly. Lieutenant Hayes, I have observed that your people seem to fight with intense emotion. Other species consider this a weakness. They train soldiers to suppress feelings during combat. Lisa laughed, a harsh sound without humor. Suppress our feelings? Counselor, our feelings are why we win. I do not understand. Lisa leaned forward. You want to know what keeps us going when we're exhausted? When our ships are falling apart around us. When everything says we should give up. She paused. Spite. Spite. Mirren had to search her translator for the word. Yeah. Anger. Stubbornness. Refusal to quit. The Council rejected us. Called us scavengers. Told us we weren't good enough. We remember every single insult. Every closed door. Every time we were dismissed. And we turn it into motivation. Mirren saw this firsthand during their next engagement. The Junker's ship, called Persistence, took catastrophic damage from a Varkon attack. Explosions ripped through 3 decks. The main engines failed. Life support failed in 2 sections. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Any other species would have evacuated immediately. It was standard procedure. A ship that damaged was considered lost. But Lisa's crew did something impossible. They conducted emergency repairs while still in combat. They worked in sections exposed to vacuum. They rerouted power through damaged systems that shouldn't have carried any current. They welded hull breaches closed using metal torn from interior walls. Engineering reports we should abandon ship, an officer said, his voice shaking. Tell engineering to shut up and fix it, Lisa snapped back, never taking her eyes off the tactical display. They fixed it. The ship survived. It shouldn't have, but it did. After the battle, Mirren found herself in the engineering bay. She watched as crews worked for 72 hours straight, rebuilding systems, replacing components, and making the ship functional again. They used parts salvaged from the battlefield. They improvised solutions that violated every standard engineering principle. They made broken things work through sheer determination and creativity. How? Mirren asked the chief engineer, a man named Paul. How do you keep going like this? Paul looked at her with tired eyes. Because we've been doing it our entire lives, counselor. Humanity reached the stars with nothing. We found every good spot already taken. So we learned to make do with what nobody else wanted. We learned that impossible just means it takes longer. But the exhaustion, the constant danger, does it not wear you down? Paul smiled grimly. It does. But then I remember that the galaxy didn't think we'd survive out here. They thought we'd come crawling back begging for help. Every day we don't do that is a victory. Every time we fix something that shouldn't work is proving them wrong. That's what fuels us. 3 days later, Mirren watched as the Junkers completed an impossible task. They found a crashed cruiser on an abandoned moon. It was a complete wreck. But the humans rebuilt it in 72 hours using only battlefield salvage. What should have taken weeks or months took 3 days. When Mirren returned to the council, she stood before the assembled representatives and delivered her report. Her voice was quiet but firm. Humans do not just survive adversity. They weaponize it. Their anger fuels them. Their desperation makes them creative. Their refusal to accept defeat makes them unstoppable. For 50 years they have been underestimated and dismissed. They have turned that into their greatest advantage. Velcrin's antennae twitched nervously. Are you saying they are a threat? I am saying we created them, Mirren replied. We denied them resources. We looked down on them. We forced them to survive on nothing. And now they are better at war than any of us. Because to them, every battle is just another day of refusing to die. 1 week later the terrible news arrived. The Varkon Empire was targeting Earth itself. The Varkon fleet emerged from jump space like a nightmare made real. 300 warships, the largest armada ever assembled in modern galactic history, surrounded Earth's orbital space. Their weapons powered up, targeting systems locked onto cities, orbital stations, and defensive platforms. Commander Jack Peterson coordinated Earth's defense from Mars Station. His hands gripped the edge of the tactical display as he watched the enemy fleet take position. Emma Price stood beside him, her face pale but determined. Tom Bradley worked frantically at his console, trying to find any tactical advantage. Status report, Jack demanded. Earth has 70 defensive ships in position, Tom replied. Another 40 stationed around the Moon and Mars. Orbital defense platforms are active. But sir, we're outmatched at least 3-1. The Varkon commander's voice boomed across all communication channels. Humans, you have fought well, but this ends now. Surrender immediately and we will spare your colonies. Resist and we will reduce Earth to ash. You have 1 hour to decide. The channel went silent. Everyone in the command center looked at Jack, waiting for orders. Admiral James Carter stood in Sanctuary Station's command center, thousands of miles away, watching the same tactical display. His hands trembled, not with fear but with pure rage. Earth, the home of humanity, the planet where his ancestors had lived for thousands of years, was about to be destroyed. Open a galaxy-wide channel, James ordered. All human frequencies. Every station, every colony, every ship. When the channel opened, James spoke clearly. All human forces, this is Admiral Carter. Earth is under attack. The Varkon Empire has surrounded our homeworld with 300 warships. They have given us 1 hour before they begin bombardment. He paused, letting his words sink in across dozens of star systems. 50 years ago we came to the stars looking for a home. The galaxy told us we weren't welcome. Told us we weren't good enough. We proved them wrong. We built homes from garbage. We created fleets from salvage. We survived where others said we would fail. James's voice grew harder, colder. Now they attack our home. They think it will break us. They think we will surrender like other species do. They don't understand something important. You cannot break people who have already been forged in fire. He looked directly at the camera. I am not ordering anyone to come to Earth. But I am going. And I am going to teach the Varkhan what happens when you threaten humanity's home. Anyone who wants to join me, meet me at Earth orbit. 1 hour. The channel closed. James turned to his crew. Prepare every ship we have. We leave in 10 minutes. Sir, Tom said quietly from Mars Station, listening to James's broadcast. Even if every human ship responds, we cannot win this battle. Jack nodded slowly. I know. But they will remember we fought. They will remember we did not surrender. Sometimes that matters more than winning. The first Varkhan bombardment wave began. Massive energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking Earth's defensive shields. The shields held, but not for long. Cities across the planet activated emergency protocols. Millions of people evacuated to underground shelters. Children were rushed into protected zones. Hospitals moved patients to basement levels. Then something appeared on the tactical scanners. Something impossible. Sir. An officer at Mars Station shouted. Jump signatures. Multiple contacts. I'm reading, hundreds of them. From across the galaxy, human ships arrived. They came from distant mining colonies. From merchant convoys. From exploration vessels. From every station, every outpost, every settlement where humans lived. They jumped into Earth's orbit, their engines still hot from emergency travel. Within 30 minutes, 400 human ships surrounded Earth. They were mismatched, cobbled together from salvage, and looked ready to fall apart. Many showed damage from their hurried journey. Some leaked atmosphere. Others had engines burning unevenly. But they came. Not because they were ordered. Because Earth called and humans answered. The Varkhan fleet hesitated. Their commander had expected surrender, not massive reinforcements. The tactical situation had changed completely. James's ship, the Defiance, took position at the front of the human fleet. He broadcast to the Varkhan commander. You wanted to see what we build from scrap and hate? You wanted to teach us about power? Pay attention. Class is in session. The battle that followed was the most brutal in human history. Varkhan ships fired in coordinated volleys, their weapons designed to overwhelm defenses through pure firepower. Human ships scattered, refusing to give them clean targets. They fought like wolves, attacking from unexpected angles, ramming when weapons failed, using debris as cover. Captain Robert Miller's ship lost both main engines in the first 10 minutes. He used attitude thrusters to maneuver and kept fighting. Lisa Hayes and the Junkers had their hull breached in 7 places. They sealed the damaged sections and kept fighting. Ship after ship took catastrophic damage but refused to retreat. Earth's surface suffered. Coastal cities flooded when bombardment disrupted weather patterns. Forests burned. Infrastructure collapsed. The damage was terrible, but the planet survived because humanity fought for every inch of space around it. For 12 brutal hours, the battle raged. Human casualties mounted. 20 ships destroyed. 50 more heavily damaged. But the Varkhan fleet began to retreat. They had lost 100 ships and gained nothing. The humans had not broken. But James was not finished. As the Varkhan fleet withdrew, he made a decision that shocked everyone. All ships, he broadcast on human channels. Plot coordinates for Varkhan territory. We are not defending anymore. We are attacking. Sir? Tom questioned from Mars. That is their home space. We would be invading. Emma grabbed James's arm. James, we are not conquerors. We are not like them. James looked at the tactical display showing Earth, wounded but alive. They attacked our home. They killed millions of our people. They need to understand that actions have consequences. We are going to make absolutely certain they never threaten us again. The human fleet, battered and damaged but still functional, turned toward Varkhan space. The galaxy watched in complete shock. The species that had been denied council membership was now launching the first major counter-invasion in modern galactic history. The human fleet emerged in Varkhan space like ghosts appearing from darkness. 400 battered ships, many still trailing atmosphere from hull breaches, entered the enemy's home territory. The Varkhan Empire had never been invaded. They were the conquerors, not the conquered. The sight of human ships in their space sent shockwaves through their command structure. Admiral James Carter stood on the bridge of Defiance, looking at the tactical display. Varkhan shipyards, military bases and defensive stations dotted the system. He could destroy them all. One command and humanity would rain fire on everything the Varkhan had built. But he did something unexpected. Broadcast on all Varkon frequencies, James ordered. Use every channel they have. When the channel opened, James spoke clearly. Varkon Empire, this is Admiral James Carter of the Human Fleet. We are targeting your military installations only. Evacuate your shipyards and military bases. You have 6 hours. Civilian targets will not be harmed. We are not monsters. But your military will pay for what you did to Earth. The broadcast ended. Emma looked at James with surprise. You are giving them a warning? We are not here to kill civilians, James replied. We are here to break their ability to make war. There is a difference. The Varkon scrambled to respond. Their home fleet moved to intercept. Emergency broadcasts ordered military personnel to evacuate shipyards. Civilians panicked, not understanding what was happening. What followed was not a traditional war. It was a demonstration of everything humanity had learned in 50 years of surviving on nothing. Human forces used tactics the galaxy had never seen. Small fast ships conducted lightning attacks on supply depots. Engineering teams infiltrated military stations and sabotaged them from inside. Salvage crews operated behind enemy lines, stealing Varkon technology and turning it against them. Captain Robert Miller led a strike team that captured a Varkon supply depot without firing a shot. They simply cut the power, boarded through the cargo bay, and convinced the confused defenders to surrender. Then they used the depot's own weapons to attack other military targets. Lieutenant Lisa Hayes and the Junkers captured a military station by boarding it through the waste disposal system. They never guard the garbage ports, Lisa explained later. Who expects an invasion through the trash? Only humans thought that way. The Varkon fought back fiercely. They were proud warriors with a long military tradition. But they faced an enemy that fought without honor, without rules, without any concern for conventional warfare. Humans cared about one thing: winning. When the Varkon fortified their positions, humans went around them. When the Varkon set traps, humans ignored them and attacked from unexpected directions. When the Varkon tried to predict human strategy, they found there was no strategy, only chaos that somehow worked. Every setback made humans more determined. Every loss fueled more creativity. They fought like people who had spent their entire existence being told they were not good enough, and they were proving everyone wrong. After 2 weeks of this unconventional warfare, the Varkon Empire surrendered. Their military was in chaos. Their shipyards were destroyed. Their supply lines were cut. They could not understand how they had lost to an inferior force. The Galactic Council immediately called for peace negotiations. Counselor Mirren personally traveled to the neutral meeting site where James, Emma, and Tom represented humanity. You have won, Mirren said carefully. The Varkon Empire offers unconditional surrender. Please accept this victory and end the fighting. No, James said flatly. The room went silent. Ambassador Velkrin's antennae trembled. No? Admiral Carter, you have achieved total victory. What more do you want? Justice, Emma said firmly. Tom activated a holographic display showing Earth's damage. 6 million humans are dead. 30 cities destroyed or damaged. Entire ecosystems ruined. And you want us to just say, okay, we forgive you? What are your terms? Mirren asked quietly. James leaned forward. Full reparations to Earth. Full reparations to every species the Varkon attacked. They reduced their military fleet by 60%. And humanity gets a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. You are using this crisis to force your way into the Council? Velkrin said, outraged. Force. Emma laughed without humor. We saved you. We stopped the Varkon when your member species sent almost nothing. We earned this. We bled for this, Tom added. We died for this. Do not tell us we did not earn it. Mirren looked at the 3 humans. They were exhausted, angry, and absolutely serious. The Council will need to vote on this matter. Take your time, James said coldly. Meanwhile, we will remain in Varkon space. I am sure they will not mind us staying near their remaining military bases. The vote took 3 days. It was close, but it passed. Humanity was granted full Council membership. 1 year later, James stood in the newly constructed human embassy on the Council station. The building was unique. Its foundation incorporated metal from destroyed Varkon warships, melted down and forged into the structure. It was a symbol. A reminder. At the dedication ceremony, Counselor Mirren spoke first. We welcome humanity to the Galactic Council. May your voices bring wisdom to our deliberations. Then James took the podium. He looked at the assembled representatives. Some looked welcoming. Others looked resentful. All looked uncertain about what humanity's membership meant. 50 years ago we came to the stars looking for a place to belong, James began. You told us we were not good enough. Not sophisticated enough. Not civilized enough. So we lived on scrap because that is all you left us. We lived on anger because that is what you gave us. We survived because quitting was never an option. He gestured to the embassy walls. This building contains metal from the ships that attacked Earth. We could have used new materials. But we wanted everyone to remember. To remember that we are here not because you invited us, but because we refused to disappear. James's voice softened slightly. We do not want to conquer anyone. We never did. We just wanted to be recognized. To matter. To be heard. You are afraid of us, James continued. I understand. You should be. We proved that determination beats resources. That creativity beats technology. That refusing to quit beats every advantage. But understand this, he said firmly. We remember everything. Every rejection. Every insult. Every closed door. We turn that into fuel. Into who we are today. He smiled, not warmly but not coldly either. We are here now. We are not leaving. And maybe, if you give us a chance, you will find that the species you forced to survive on scrap and spite learned something valuable. Nothing is worthless. Everything has potential. Everyone deserves a chance. The speech ended. Some species applauded. Others remained silent. But everyone understood. The galaxy had changed forever. Later that evening, Emma, Tom, and James sat in the embassy's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Think they will ever trust us? Tom asked. Probably not, Emma admitted. But maybe that is fine. Respect is better than trust anyway. James smiled. We came a long way from being scavengers on orbital junk.